So good afternoon once again. My name is Gustav Csomor, Senior Project Officer at the Managing Authority Joint Secretariat of the Danube Region Program. This afternoon, you will be able to hear thematic webinar on the specific objective 2.4 of the program, which is dealing with focusing on biodiversity, ecological corridor, and ecological region related topics. In a second, I will share my screen. And then I would start the presentation. And of course, at the end of my presentation, there will be a possibility for questions, which you can raise in the chat function of the event. So, first of all, some few words about the Danube program and its characteristics. One key aspect is its geographic scope, which is, as the name is reflecting, also the Danube region. The region which is not only focusing on the river itself, but it's basically more or less the matching with the Danube River basin. It includes 14 countries, most of them in full, while Germany and Ukraine is only partly. In Germany, 2 regions, while in Ukraine, 4 counties are part of the Danube region. But actually, from these 2 countries, partners can also be eligible from those parts of the country which are not within the Danube region, in case the partner organization or the organization and their activities, especially within the project, has some relevance and added value in the Danube region context. And let's say the geographic scope of the program is actually matching with the geographic area of the Danube region strategy. An important characteristic of the program, and somehow the general name of the program also reflects this, that it's a transnational program. Transnational means that the program is supporting such corporations which have, on the one hand, dimensions on a broader territorial level, on a transnational level, as well as the projects what they implement are expected to have an impact also on that higher territorial level, which is beyond basically the national level. But it shall also be understood that transnational is not exactly not the same as a cross-border, which is a much more limited. The transnational covers a much broader area. In the most optimal case, it can also be the Danube region itself. But even if not the full area is in focus, at least a reasonable and let's say big enough area is supposed to be part of it. So the transnational dimension shall be reflected in a project by defining clearly the topic, the address challenge, what the project would like to improve, the specific territorial need, and all these shall have a transnational character. So the topic, the challenge, shall be relevant for a broader territory within the Danube region, and possibly in an interlinked area that is interlinked among the different countries. And accordingly, let's say, areas and partnerships limited to 3-4 countries are not really sufficiently broad enough in the let's say program context. Regarding the transnational impact is, as I mentioned, basically what the projects are carrying out activities, and then what they create as project outputs, these are expected to have relevant impact on a broader territorial scale, on that level, on that scale, what actually the project is targeting and which is relevant and reasonable within the Danube region context. It shall also be understood that connecting activities of different partners in many different countries of the Danube region, but missing this kind of territorial transnational linkage is not fulfilling what the program is expecting, and that is still missing that transnational character, what is expected from the project. From thematic point of view, the program is structured along 4 different priorities, and one of these priorities related to environmental issues, and within this priority there are, just like in other priorities, there are different specific objectives. And the one in which is the topic of this afternoon's presentation is related to protecting and preserving the biodiversity in ecological corridors and ecoregions of transnational relevance in the Danube region. It's important to understand that the scope of the program is explained by the whole sentence. So the program is not addressing biodiversity as such, but biodiversity in ecological corridors or in ecological regions that are, let's say, broad enough on a transnational level. So it's important that the scope of the program, as well as later on when I will present the different activities, the activities shall be understood as a whole, because sometimes we receive applications when the proposal is, let's say, taking a certain terminology, a certain word out of the whole sentence, and they address that single issue, but not in the context of the specific scope of the program. So, what are the what certain specific challenges and needs are identified in this thematic field within the region? First of all, the region is quite colorful, mosaic of biogeographical regions, and it's very rich accordingly. Its biodiversity is very rich. There are important transnational ecological corridors, like the major rivers, the Danube, the Tisa, Sava, and so on, Mura-Drava, as well as the big mountain ranges like the Carpathians, and these are strong and important transnational interlinked biogeographic areas. But then these areas are endangered by, and its biodiversity and ecosystem are endangered by different factors due to human interventions or fragmentation of transnational habitats and ecosystems. These are also channels for spreading of invasive alien species, as well as the climate change is impacting the conditions of ecosystems in these areas, which climate change is affecting many different aspects of our life, including also the ecosystems. Beyond that, it can be experienced that management capacities and skills for transnational ecological areas, regions are not strong enough. And The expectation that impacts beyond the countries are needed for cooperation on a broader territorial level, and therefore there is a need and room for transnational cooperation in these respective fields. The specific objectives have different focus areas. From territorial point of view, as I already mentioned, the territorial focus of the projects to be supported are expected to be broad enough, being, for example, focusing on one of the key transnational ecological corridors or transboundary ecological regions. And water-related issues like water proposals addressing water habitats or wetlands shall then also have this linkage among them along, for example, major transnational rivers. From thematic point of view, the focus is on the one hand is to improve the ecological connectivity between habitats, nature protection areas along these transnational relevant ecological corridors. Another focus area is the conservation and restoration measures for endangered umbrella species on transnational level, of course. And then another aspect can be the strengthening the networks of cooperation in ecological regions and among protected areas, again, with an appropriate and relevant transnational area in the Danube region, as well as ensuring resilience and adaptation to climate change to reduce its impact on biodiversity. But again, biodiversity within these focus areas, this is one aspect. And then the other aspect is that the program is not really focusing on, let's say, on agrobiodiversity, rather more on the natural areas, natural protected areas of the region, to protect those. And it's not dealing with agricultural related aspects of biodiversity. What kind of activities are supported? The program is expected or it tries to influence relevant policy areas in the region, and accordingly projects are expected somehow to try to improve policies and institutional capacities by, for example, integrated strategies, action plans, or setting up relevant policy, sectorial dialogues, developing and implementing trainings for institutional capacity building. The management of protected areas and ecological regions would also need harmonization in a reasonable area, improving this by, for example, management plans or certain different solutions, tools, which can also be elaborated within the projects. It is important to understand that while innovative practical tools can be developed in the project, these are expected on the one hand to be tested and validate that actually those tools are functioning properly and can ensure the needed improvement in the respective field. But at the same time, such solutions, such technical approaches are not supposed to be this in focus of the project. Rather, as I mentioned in the beginning, the starting point of a project shall be a relevant transnational area, and then the relevant territorial challenge and need, which needs some improvement. And in connection to that, the partnership can find an appropriate tool for it. but not the other way around, to come up with a tool and develop it and then relate it to the program. What is also important that the projects are expected to have a reasonable mix of these different kind of activities of trainings, developing solutions, or networking and elaborating action plans or strategies towards the policy and decision-making level, or useful tools for on the operational level. The territorial approach is very important, which means also that tackling a certain problem would need an integrated and cross-sectoral approach. So partnerships are supposed to be built not only on a single sector, not necessarily only from the nature protection area, but also involving actors which are also important stakeholders in relation to the specific problem that the project intends to address. And as a horizontal issue, of course, the potential negative effects of climate change are also to be considered when planning the measures for the project. More specifically, some potential activities that the program can support is to improve and manage, monitor ecological connectivity along transnational relevant ecological corridors, potentials of green and blue infrastructure development and solutions for effective defragmentation. Here I would emphasize at the same time that the program, due to its characteristics, is not supporting investment. So here is more to find either small-scale solutions that can bring improvement in an area, or preparation, harmonized preparation for future investments that are then to be implemented from other resources beyond the Danube program project. Another area of activities can relate to revitalization and rehabilitation of water habitats along major transnational rivers or river systems. And within this, the potential of restoration and reconnection of floodplains, wetlands can be examined, or establishing management and cooperation networks of transboundary ecological regions and protected areas can be also another topic. Resilience of habitats and ecosystems of transboundary ecological regions and their ability to adapt to climate change impacts. Here, eco-friendly land use systems, landscape management, soil protection and restoration measures. But again, this is not really focusing on agricultural aspects, rather more as a landscape, as in its wholeness. That's how it is to be understood. So purely agricultural, biodiversity focused projects are not supported by the program. In connection to invasive alien species, solutions to prevent and control their, as well as to manage their priority pathways, can be supported, of course, again, if it has an appropriate territorial scope in the program context and the program region context, as well as monitoring, conservation, restoration, and management plans for endangered umbrella species can also be a topic that can be relevant for the specific objective of the program. On the other hand, the program is not supporting projects which are not able basically to demonstrate that cooperation is needed, really needed on transnational level. So linking individual local activities in the field of biodiversity that is not yet matching the program. Projects that are not focusing on a transnational relevant geographic area, be it an ecological corridor or transboundary ecological region, are also not supported by the program. As I mentioned, the program is also not supporting projects or proposals that are focusing on infrastructure building and installments, as well as the projects are also not supposed to focus on development, elaboration of technical solutions. If it does not have the, let's say, the territorial background, as well as the tools are also expected to be applied at the same time. So it's enough not only to develop some solution and test it, that it potentially can provide a reasonable solution for a certain problem in the reasonable territory, but it also shall be ensured by the project and the partnership that this tool is also applied then beyond the project. This specific objective is not focusing on research and innovation, and such, let's say, activities can be part of the project, but then these are expected to be further used and applied in operational or policy level and bring certain operative solutions or policy level strategies. Regarding the floodplain restoration potentials, it is important to understand that within this specific objective, those proposals can fit, which are related to improve habitat, improve the habitats and connectivity of these different habitats. But in case the floodplain restoration, it would focus more on flood protection issues, or more can be related to improving the water quality. Then those are to be linked to other specific objectives of the program, be it the one is the climate change adaptation related 2.2, or the water management related 2.3 specific objective. In the frame of the first call for proposals, so far within the specific objective, only one proposal is selected for support, which is focusing on climate smart forest connectivity for large carnivores in the Balkan Carpathian region. Of course, another project addressing the exact same topic is not expected and would not be supported, but there are plenty of fields and topics and fields where hopefully relevant proposals can be proposed and then submitted. Some typical mistakes from the based on the application submitted for the first call. I would say one of the most frequent one was that proposal were missing that geographic focus, what is expected from the program side. So there was no real transnational ecological region or corridor, but the projects were addressing some similar topics, but in many different areas of the Danube region. And unfortunately, that does not yet good enough for the program. Another issue was, a problem was that some of the project proposals had a rather limited territorial scope, even if thematically it could have well fit the scope of the program and the specific objective. Unfortunately, these were limited only to 2-3 countries, which then would not be able to provide sufficient and relevant impact on a transnational level in the Danube region. So reasonably big enough and reasonable transnational area is to be addressed, and accordingly the partnership shall be also good and broad enough for that. There were some proposals which were submitted, but dealing or focusing on such topics which has already been addressed, actually not by the Danube Region program, but by projects of the predecessor program of the Danube Transnational Program, for example, in connection to umbrella species of sturgeons. There were already a good project there, while the new proposals were actually not able to demonstrate what then the added value of the new proposal would be in this direction. And there were also examples of proposals which were basically focusing on a certain innovative tool, developing a certain innovative tool, but then that was in the center of the project, and the actual territorial background was missing. But as I tried to emphasize, it shall be the starting point of projects to be financed in the framework of the Danube program. Some more general issues, problems are related to the project intervention logic development, as well as linking appropriately the proposal, the project to the Danube strategy relevant priority area, as well as to demonstrate its potential reasonable contribution. This issue I would not like to touch now because these are not really thematic issues, but then I would recommend you to check the lead applicant webinar, which you can already access on the program website, where the issue of intervention logic or how properly projects can be linked to the EUSDR priority areas are explained, as well as in the documents of the program and the call, these issues are explained in detail. Some more general aspects of the projects. One is the partnership. There is a minimum requirement, but this is only an eligibility requirement towards the applications, that minimum 3 financing partners are expected to be in the partnership from 3 Danube Region partner countries, Danube Region program countries. But again, this is just a minimum requirement, but not sufficient enough for financing. So I cannot emphasize enough and repeat myself that competitive projects, first of all, have to have an appropriate territorial scope, and then accordingly, the partnership shall reflect that area. So partners then shall be present and to cooperate from all those countries of the target area, and so to ensure the broad territorial impact. And regarding the number of partners, there is no sort of neither a limitation of number of partners nor a specific minimum criteria in this respect. What is important, on the other hand, is that from thematic and territorial point of view, the partnership shall prove its relevance and competence And the partnership shall provide a good and coherent mix of the different, let's say, actors, relevant actors, thematic and sectorial actors, and their presence and contribution is expected to be relatively balanced. It's also important because the program has many EU as well as many non-EU member countries, that the projects also involve partners from non-EU countries. Of course, this is very much depending on the geographic territorial scope of the project. But then in case in that given geographic context, non-EU countries are relevant, then the partnership shall involve partners from those areas as well. The program is providing support, which is called Interact as a type of Interact funds, which means a sort of integration of the different funding sources provided for EU countries and for non-EU countries in an integrated way in a single pot. And this is beneficial because this ensures and provides the opportunity that partners from non-EU countries can participate basically in an equal basis like partners or organizations from EU countries. In fact, the Danube region program is the first one in the program area. This is the first time that there is also a possibility, once again due to this Interact funds background, that organizations from non-EU countries can be lead partners in a project, which was not possible at all previously. The only exception is related to Ukraine, where unfortunately, due to the given circumstances, Ukrainian partners cannot be lead partners, at least not in the second call. Regarding the budget, I already mentioned that the Interact funds pot is integrating the three different funding sources for the different type of countries. The Interact funds contribution relates to the 80% of the project budget. So the 20% of the total project budget shall be ensured by the project partners on their side. And the indicative allocation for the second call, here I present actually the allocation of the whole priority 2. But in case of specific objective 2.4, so the topic we are talking about today is a bit more than 4.8 million euro. Not that many, unfortunately, not that much, but still there are room to finance a couple of good projects, and indeed we expect good projects, since in the first call there was a possibility to select only one so far. So hopefully in the second call there will be much more successful proposals submitted. The second call has already been launched on the 2nd of November. The submission deadline for the proposals is the 29th of March next year. These proposals shall be submitted online through the Danube Region Program Joint Electronic Monitoring System. Links and let's say guidances you can find on the program website regarding this tool. Here I would mention that as applicants in other programs, other Interact programs, the GEMS and the system might be familiar for some of you. What I would like to emphasize here is that although the, let's say, the basic part of the system is stemming from the same source, nonetheless, each program has their own system, meaning that if you might be registered in one of the program's GEMS system, that does not mean that you are already registered also for the Danube program. So you would need a new registration in order to be able to work in the GEMS of the Danube region program. Project duration is maximum 3 years. And of course, this will depend on the number of applications received and then the time needed for the assessment and selection process. But at the present, it is estimated to around early 2025 to start the implementation of the selected projects. Here are some resources from where important information you can gain. Of course, the first one is the program website. There you can find a section for the new program, because at the moment we are still using the website of the Danube Transnational Program. There is a specific part dedicated to the new program, in the Danube region program, and within that, in different parts, you can find some very useful tools. One is, let's say, a more general guidance how to apply, how to develop a good transnational project. Here you can find a link on the page. Then there is a dedicated page for the second call, and there you can find, for example, also the applicants package with the different important and useful documents, how you will be able to elaborate the proposal. There is also a section where links to different webinars, thematic webinars, as well as the lead applicant webinar you can find, where the recorded presentations, webinars you can access, including the present one, which will be after the event soon also uploaded there. An important tool which very many applicants are looking for and asking is the tool that can help project generation in establishing partners, searching for partners and searching for projects. This is the Danube Region Program Matchmaking Platform. This will be accessible in roughly 2 weeks. So please check regularly the program website regarding the news. And although this will not be part of the program website, it will be a separate tool, but of course you will find access from the program website to this tool. In this regard, we would like to ask a bit of patience from your side, but the tool will be available well in time, and you can use it till basically the end of March, so there will be time enough to work on it and have a good result out of it. Another important source of information, I would say, are the national contact points of the program, which are established in all 14 partner countries. The context to these contact points you can find also on the program website, and the contact points can give you advice on the, of course, partly on thematic issues as well, but maybe more importantly, clarifying let's say, the national aspects and important national relevant things, control and so on, that are managed on a national level, and to help in this, as well as maybe even they might be able to help also to find partners from other countries and areas in the program region. And of course, there is the Joint Secretariat, which you can approach with your specific questions on thematic or technical issues as well. And for each proposal, there is also a possibility to request a bilateral consultation from a relevant project officer of the relevant for the topic of your project. This is provided one per each proposal. So regarding this, I would propose that to use this option once your proposal is in a more advanced form, both, let's say, content-wise as well as on a partnership level, which then could be a good stage to consult and discuss with the JS officer how much it's fitting the program. And from thematic point of view, I would also recommend you to get in contact with the priority area coordinator, or the steering group of the relevant thematic field, in order to ensure that there is a good linkage of the project to the strategy, both on a, let's say, contribution side towards the targets, objectives of the strategy, as well as to establish links that can ensure that, because the strategy actors might be a very useful stakeholders that can contribute to the transferring of project results, or to ensure that the project is also reaching out to relevant policy level in the thematic field. With this, I get to the end of my presentation. Here you can find the links, on the one hand to the specific part of the program website, which is related to the Danube Region program, as well as there is my email address. And in case you might be interested in or have an idea in connection to the specific objective 2.4, then feel free to contact me, and then we can discuss further details. With this, then I would stop the sharing of my presentation. Of course, as I said, you will be able to access this presentation through the program website and the link to the webinar. And now I check if we might have any questions. Yeah. So it seems that there were no questions. Some had some problems with the sound. I'm sorry for that. I hope that still you will be able to hear what I was saying. Then, in case there are no questions, then at least we received some through the registrations, not too many, but then I would take the opportunity to give answers to these. One question was asking whether, besides organizations from other countries, may we include more organizations from the same country? I assume the question means that if projects are supposed to have one partner from a certain country, or it can be more than one. The answer is, it is possible to have more than one partner from a country, but what, on the one hand, partnership shall ensure that it is balanced. So if the partnership is focusing on, let's say, 6 countries, then we expect that the number of partners, as well as their kind of activity contributions, are reasonably balanced. Of course, that it is never equal, but it is expected to be reasonably balanced. At the same time, of course, it is also important that each single partner has their thematic and relevance and expertise, as well as reasonable knowledge and thematic and or territorial competence that is for the benefit of the project. I hope I managed to answer what the one asking wanted to understand. The next question is that this participant was interested in protection of agrobiodiversity. One of EU strategic goals is to promote sustainable food consumption and facilitating the shift to healthy, sustainable diets. Unfortunately, this is not the direction what would fit the program and this specific objective. Agrotechnological issues could have linked to the innovation priority within the program, but that priority is unfortunately closed in the second call. So I'm afraid that I don't have a positive news for the person interested in this. And then the last question was, what proportion of the budget can be devoted to pilot testing in a potential project pilot site? It's there is not a no direct answer. As I said, let's say investments, equipment, infrastructure, and works related costs in the projects are not supposed to be dominant. At the same time, let's say what is tested and where shall also be, let's say, justified, meaning that if a certain, I don't know, tool, a certain methodology, a certain solution is to be tested in different within different geographical areas with different characteristics to check how much it's functional, that solution in one or the other area, how much it would be reasonable to provide a solution and improvement in different, in the certain ecological corridor, but including different kind of characteristic areas. This can be, let's say, there can be several pilot actions in this respect. But again, these are not supposed to dominate the project budget, and also, let's say, partner budgets are not necessarily supposed to dominate this. What I can recommend you is that if you have more concrete idea, then please contact me, and then in the context of the proposal, this can be discussed how much the planned idea would fit or what adjustment would be needed. So that was all the questions we received online. And as far as I see, there are also no more further questions in the chat function. Unfortunately, that's the only way how you participants are able to raise your questions. So in case there are no more questions, then with this, I would close the webinar today. And in case you have so question just dropped in. the question is if countries can also participate only as associated partners. Of course they can, but as the characteristic of the associated partners mean that they are to be involved either to bring in some knowledge or bring in some such policy actors which would not be necessarily needed for a daily project implementation, but in order to, let's say, create ownership of, for example, for a strategy development, then of course key policy actors to be involved as, for example, associated strategic partners, they can be relevant, but such partners, such associated partners don't have a budget to work on the project, meaning that some financing partners are providing the funding of travel and accommodation costs of such partners. All in all, this also means that associated partners cannot really much influence the project, as well as, let's say, the potential impact in the respective country might also be limited compared to those countries where actually more directly involved partners are there. So, of course, it is possible that from certain countries there are only ASPs, but the potential impact in those areas are supposed to be more limited, and from this point of view, that would also mean let's say, less balanced partnership, at least from geographical and transnational point of view. I hope I yeah, okay, the reaction is already there, that the point is understood. I don't know if there might be any new question popping up in the next 10 seconds, let's say. And in the case not, then I would recommend you to, in case later on you might have questions, you can turn to me by email and ask me directly. And beyond that, then I would thank you for your attention and interest, of course, in the Danube program and this specific objective. And in case you decide so to elaborate a project, then I wish you good luck on this and to be able to create a useful and relevant project to be submitted. With this, I close the event for today, and I wish you good day and good afternoon. Bye-bye.